Today, I want to talk about representation. Who speaks for independent owner operators?
So OOIDA does, right? I mean, obviously I work for OOIDA, but I mean that. And we feel like we're in a pretty good place to represent not only our members, but even non-members.
And so, what does that look like on a day to day basis? How do you represent them?
Right now we have 4 people working there in DC. We have a full-time presence there. Really no other organization that represents drivers does have a full-time presence in DC. Our executives, Todd Spencer and Louis Pugh specifically, really focus most of their time on our advocacy efforts. They're giving us a lot of direction. They're getting a lot of direction from our board of directors, from our membership, and from a lot of non-members. I talk to non-members, non-OOID members every week.
So, tell me about some of the biggest challenges.
So, a couple of things. Partisanship and legislative gridlock is real, dysfunctional, ineffective for a long time. It's been very partisan. I've been at OOIDA for 7 years, and what I've seen in DC has only gotten worse. Before that, I worked on Capitol Hill for 8 years, and things were a lot better in 2006 than they were in 2014. The other thing that doesn't help is a lot of drivers are at times kind of their own worst enemy. Trucking is very fractured right now. You have OOIDA, you have the American Trucking Associations, the Truckload Carriers Associations, numerous other smaller trucking groups out there. It's very fractured, and a lot of times what we say is different from what others say, and that's sort of unique in trucking because if you look at other industries, and I'm going to stick with transportation here, when Congress has a railroad question, they go to one place. And when they have a trucking question, there may be, 6 or 10 places they go. So that doesn't help, kind of the fracture within trucking itself.
You've got the ATA, the American Trucking Associations, plural. And they represent a lot of the really big fleets. They may have fewer members, but those big fleets represent about 90% of the rolling stock out there. So, is there a tendency for Congress to give the ATA more weight than they might give to OOIDA, even if you have more members?
Not really in Congress. No, I don't think they do. They're fighting Congress and other trucking interests just as we are. Their issues are a little bit different than ours. They had a lot of influence in the Trump administration. I don't know how that looks with President Biden. But no, I don't think their influence in Congress is more than we have. There's really nobody getting a lot done in Congress these days. That's true, whether you're in transportation or any other industry.
There's this desire for some reason to have an active working driver that doing some of the things that OOIDA is doing. Is that a workable solution?
The grassroots activism, picking up the phone, calling your lawmakers, sending them an email, offering yourself up as a resource on trucking issues. A lot more of that stuff has to happen.
Where is their point of entry?
First of all, figure out who your lawmaker is. There's a lot of people who don't know because they don't care or they don't have time, they're busy, whatever. I mean, politics isn't everything to everybody. But figure out who your lawmakers are. You're going to have one member of the U.S. House, 2 U.S. senators. You'll have a state rep and a state senator. So that's kind of the world that we live in. And just reach out to them, right? If you're focusing on Congress in DC, reach out to your senators. Tell them who you are. This is my name. This is where I live. This is what I do for a living. Here's how I can be helpful to you. And if you have a trucking question, I've been driving for, X amount of years and I have X amount of miles under my belt. I mean, that's the stuff that lawmakers need to hear. Those are the people that we want lawmakers to talk to.
For the Truck Boss Show, I'm Brad Kuhn, and I'll see you down the road.